I still have this icon. All right. We beat the game today. That's crazy. All right. Disco Elysium conquered. I didn't write down any thoughts for this game, primarily because I think everything really does get encapsulated for me in kind of short moments. And that is, overall thoughts. I had a ton of fun with the game. I was really enjoying the kind of investigation. I was enjoying all the silly answers and silly questions that I can ask. It was a very new experience, especially because I wasn't able to really kind of figure out what kind of game this is. I don't really want to say this is an RPG. It doesn't do any of the RPG things that I would typically associate with that genre. It feels like an RPG should have some sort of combat or something like that. It feels like an RPG should explore other aspects of gameplay. What this felt like to me was a very interactive visual novel. But Wikipedia says it's an RPG, so I guess we're classifying it as an RPG. But anyways, I digress. I really enjoyed how this game kind of progressed and how things went until that fateful moment with Titus, where I felt stuck. And then the layers of the game started to fold over on top of me, and I felt very restricted. It's giga loud. Might have to turn it down. Anyways, I felt really restricted during that moment. I felt like I exhausted everything that I needed to do. I went to talk to people. I did so many things, and I just wasn't making any progress. And from my point of view, there was only one thing that I could do, but it was such an impossible check for me to meet. How was I going to meet, what was it, an 18 check when I had hardly any bonuses or anything like that? I needed double sixes to progress. And that seemed like the wrong way to go about it. After I had save scummed my way past all that, Kuno's dad, what the heck? After I save scummed and passed that check, then we came back to the window, and I learned about the window, and I was like, oh, maybe I could have actually progressed at the window, but I don't actually know that. It's entirely possible that I just needed to pass that check. And that became a reoccurring issue for me as the game went on. The notion of, oh man, I just made a ton of progress. Now I can go talk to all these people. I can get all this information. And I had a lot of fun doing that. But then I would once again come up against a check that felt impossible to progress past without either doing something that I really didn't want to do or save scumming. And so I kind of just felt trapped by the game, where this game is so open and it gives you so many things to mess around with, and it allows you to go about situations however you feel is most appropriate. It encourages you to experiment, but then once you reach the end of that, you realize it's kind of like a funnel where you have all these options at the top, okay? And it just slowly constricts until you get to one choice, maybe two, but let's just say one choice. and you have no reasonable way to really get past that one choice. And that's really just where my enjoyment of the game kind of died for me. The tightest decision, it was rough, but I got past it, and it rejuvenated my joy for the game. And then I hit the door, and it happened again. Then I hit the guy, the communist guy at the end, and it just kind of happened again. Like, I was just trapped there. I have to arrest this guy, but there's this mysterious fourth option that I just don't have access to. So, like, what am I supposed to do? What was I supposed to do? This is really loud. So yeah, in an interesting sort of event, I think this is 2 games in a row now for me, where I was enjoying the game quite a bit until the game kind of told me to stop enjoying it. And that's where we're at. I'm also not really a fan of the ending here. It's incredibly uninteresting to me to go through this entire game trying to solve a murder, and at the end of it all, it's just some random guy on an island. And then this whole like phasmid thing. It just doesn't, like, it the random guy on an island, you know, like, sure, it makes sense, but it doesn't, it's not fun to me. It's not exciting to me. Because it's just some random guy on an island, basically. It would have been so much more interesting if it was one of the members of the team that was getting jealous over the other guy with Classe, or if it was Everard, who actually just masterminded the entire thing and hired some guy, and then maybe we found the guy that was hired and he told us, and like, it would have just been so much more interesting if it was an actual somebody that we interacted with, somebody that we spent time with, and like we could actually pry out the confession to them. It would have made it so much more satisfying. Like, what if it was Titus, for example? And, let's just say like Titus survives the entire time, yada yada. If we worked through all of that and then we found out that it was Titus, it would have been insane. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I knew it was Titus, he was lying to us. Or what if it was Classe? Like, oh man, she lied to us about this and then she lied to us about that. How did I not figure this out? How did I not make this connection? There's so much of a missed opportunity to make it a character that we actually care about. And that really deflated the end for me. It wasn't what I wanted. And that was disappointing for me. It's kind of low key. You're fine with it. It does go back to the old war, which was talked about throughout the game. It does, but it's just, for me, it's just so low. Like, it just has such a low amount of impact to it. It could have been. I guess this is more of the. I like the dramatic flair of a villain or like a final confrontation. And this one was, I guess, kind of as you say it was just very low key. It was very grounded in the sense of, like, I'm just a crazy dude who is still fighting a war that is is over in reality, but it's not over to me. So you know, like I get the parallels and things like that. It just, I guess I just like the drama, you know. It just could have been so much more for me. I think really that's the crux of all that I want to say about this game. Um, I like I like the tools. I like the gameplay. I like the interactions with the characters. I still hate Kuno. That character is an insanely disrespectful kid, but it was such a memorable character. I would say most, if not all, of the characters in this game were very memorable for what they offered to the story and what they were doing. And so I guess maybe that's just why it hits me a little harder. In that all of these memorable characters ultimately did not contribute to the like final confrontation, as like yes, they propelled me to get there, but I wanted one of these memorable characters to be the final confrontation, and it just wasn't any of that. So but yeah, that's my playthrough of Disco Elysium. I guess if the developers are watching, I personally would like to see this game not necessarily take the funnel approach. I think that really hurt my experience with it. Maybe less so other people, but it turned into being deceptively open. And if it just leaned more towards the linearity of it, if I knew when to stop and when to continue, I think that would have helped me out a lot. I also think the checks could have just been more reasonable, especially what I will consider required checks. But at the same time, it did kind of seem like there were two ways to get through every option except for that very last one. So whatever. Those are my thoughts. So I guess I'll stop that here. Yeah.